Well, good morning, everyone. I'm King County Executive Dow Constantine, and I want to welcome you to one of the drivers of our regional and state economy, the Washington State Convention Center. King County has a worldwide reputation for innovation and entrepreneurship, making us the ideal location for international conferences and conventions, for national meetings of all sizes, if we only had the facilities large enough to accommodate all those who want to come to our region. Ours is the 13th most populous county in the United States. Yet this convention center is smaller than 55 others across the country. The constrained space, the lack of open dates, has meant that the center has turned away almost as much business as it has been able to book. Convention groups tell us time and again they want to visit Seattle, King County, Washington State. We simply need to make it possible for them to do so. As many of you know, I have long been a champion for convention center expansion. We pushed the legislature over and over. I even worked to change the governance of the convention center. Every year, that expansion was delayed. It was delayed, and when it was delayed, it meant a loss of $250 million in business that simply went elsewhere to one of our competitors around the country. Convention Place Station is the largest underdeveloped parcel in all of downtown Seattle. Today, I am pleased to announce that we have reached an agreement on the sale of that metro property at Convention Place for the much-needed expansion of the Washington State Convention Center. Construction spending will inject $1.4 billion into our regional economy. And when the addition is up and running, we'll finally be capturing that $250 million per year in visitor spending that has simply gone elsewhere. You know what they say, the way an economy grows is by bringing in other people's money. Well, this agreement is a win. It is a win for Metro Transit. The sale of the station at an appraised price of $825 per square foot will generate $283 million in principal and interest. We're creating ongoing revenue that will help support the delivery of Metro services both now and over the course of the next 30 years. This is a sizable investment in our mobility future. Second, it's a win for affordable housing, with $5 million from the convention center for construction of affordable units adjacent to the new addition or payment to a King County housing program. It's a win for the surrounding neighborhoods, downtown Seattle, Capitol Hill, the Denny Triangle, with improved sidewalks and connections that will make the neighboring streetscape and pedestrian environment more inviting, activate a full block of currently dead space, and better knit together the neighborhoods that were divided by Interstate 5. It's a win for the public, as Metro is able to transfer this unique property to another public entity that needs it, rather than simply putting it on the market for a private developer. And it is a big win for working families, a big win for our regional economy. It will create 3,900 jobs in hotels, restaurants, retail, hospitality, and suppliers. And even sooner, it will create up to 6,000 family wage jobs during 3 years of construction. Subject to approval by the Convention Center Board and our King County Council, and I want to recognize that we're joined this morning by King County Council Member Rod Dembowski. Thank you for being here, Council Member. We can begin construction in 2017, and the addition will be open in 2020. And I want to remind you, 2020 used to sound like the distant future, but it is right around the corner. Of course, construction will have impacts. All construction does. That's the reality of dynamic growth in a highly developed urban environment. So I'm directing Metro Transit and Sound Transit to work closely with the Seattle Department of Transportation and the Convention Center to efficiently manage mobility in the Center City. The ongoing funding of $283 million from Metro is a tremendous public benefit that will support bus service and capital investment. In the long term, the addition of rail capacity here means more transit to this neighborhood, as well as more transit available to growing neighborhoods all around, including Seattle Center and Belltown and Denny Regrade and South Lake Union. We will work closely with the city through the Center City Mobility Plan we launched on Monday. We've always known that buses were going to come out of the tunnel in 2020 to make room for the expansion of light rail. And that will bring twice as many trains carrying 140,000 more daily passengers. This agreement may mean that buses need to come out of the tunnel a year or so earlier. With the opening of University Link this spring, light rail will revolutionize the way we think about moving around the Center City, with a 4-minute ride from downtown to Capitol Hill and an additional 4 minutes from there to the University of Washington. On time, every time. The Convention Center Agreement is a great deal coming at a great time for economic development and jobs, for transit mobility, and for a more vibrant and walkable community. I want to thank the Convention Center for its work to make this happen, and I wanted to introduce to you the Center's board chair, Frank Finneran.
Thank you, Executive Constantine. I think it was a couple of years ago we sat in your office and we talked about the vision for this expansion, and you encouraged us and committed, in a manner of speaking, to helping us walk the path that'll take us to at least the first step, which is this major milestone in the number of steps that have to be taken in order to get this job done. It's a very complicated process, and I want to thank not only my board, who many of them are in the room, but you raise your hands. There's Terry McLaughlin in the back as a board member. There's Karen Wong over here on the left. Is there any other board members present? I want to thank the board, the staff, our employees, and the team that we've assembled to pursue this addition for getting us to this point. And also our friends at King County who have been part of the laboring oar that makes this job at least doable. Because there are literally dozens and dozens of people who are in the canoe laboring the oars to get this thing done. So. Dow mentioned that one of the major drivers from our point of view is the opportunities that we are currently losing as a result of our inability to accommodate additional convention business. And that has been the case now for almost 5 years. And he mentioned some numbers which are pretty interesting. The $250 million a year, or the number that we currently use as a total is $1.6 billion worth of business that has walked elsewhere over the 5 or 6 year period that we've been turning away business because of the lack of space and dates. I think there are 300 some such conventions that have taken that walk elsewhere, and we hope that we'll have the opportunity to recover those when we get this project done and add to the economic activity that this convention center generates for the region. That, in a manner of speaking, or in simple terms, is about a 60% or 65% increase in the economic activity, the number of delegates, the number of people, the number of rooms occupied, the amount of spending. So we celebrate today the agreement, at least in principle, on the terms and conditions of the transfer of Convention Place Station from the county to us. That will permit us to continue with all of the planning necessary to make this addition a reality. And as I look at the end of the site here that we can see and just know that this building is barely a half a block away from that corner over there. It generates a great deal of excitement for me, and I know our staff as well. You probably know that the funding for this expansion or addition at $1.4 billion will come from taxes collected on hotel room occupancies in the city of Seattle and in King County. And I know the hotel community has been encouraging and hoping for this event to occur for a number of years now. So I'm pleased to see a number of my colleagues from the hotel community in the room nodding their heads in agreement and providing the encouragement necessary for us to keep it on here. The other benefits, aside from the ability to accommodate additional delegates and more visitors to our community, were touched on by the county executive, and have to do with the low-cost housing component. There's a $5 million contribution, and that's not new for us at the convention center. We've been doing this for years. I think we've generated about 1,300 affordable units, housing units, over our lifetime. We also are pleased to know that our plans will help fund significant investments in metro service. We have been working very, very hard with the representatives of the county and with Metro to manage the closing of Convention Place Station and relocating relocating buses in a fashion that will be appropriate for the downtown community and in cooperation with Sound Transit and their plans for additional traffic into the community. We also are very concerned about our situation in the neighborhood, and we're working very diligently on plans to manage the traffic, the inflow and the outflow of vehicles and pedestrians into the existing and revised complex. And that is a work in progress, and there are a lot of people involved in that, but we're happy to say that we're making what we think is real progress that will be acceptable and workable from the community's point of view. We do have a tremendous amount of work ahead of us. We're all prepared to continue buckling down and getting it done. We've got a good team in place to do it, and we appreciate all of the encouragement, cooperation, and help we've gotten from County Executive Dow Constantine and the rest of his staff. So with that, I'd like to introduce to you John Scholes, the President and CEO of the Downtown Seattle Association. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Frank. And as you've heard, Seattle has a beautiful problem right now. We have more people that want to come to our city for meetings and conferences than we have space to accommodate. More people want to eat in our restaurants, shop at our retailers, visit our arts and cultural attractions. And this is a really, really good problem to have. And with today's announcement, we're one step closer to creating the additional space that the new Convention Center addition will provide, which will mean hundreds of thousands of more visitors each year supporting businesses and nonprofits in downtown and across our city. And on behalf of the DSA board and our members, and along with our partners who've also been longtime supporters of this project, Visit Seattle and the Seattle Chamber, I want to express our strong support for this project and our deep appreciation for King County Executive Dow Constantine's work to move it forward, for the Convention Center board and their staff and the development team's hard work over the last couple of years that resulted in this terrific agreement. You know, we're so fortunate to have the existing Convention Center and the addition located in the heart of our city. There's not a lot of downtowns that can say that. Most cities you look at, sometimes their convention centers are maybe a little more separated from their urban core. But for us, it means that visitors have great transportation options to get around. They're able to easily access and support restaurants, the arts, and retailers, and they create an active and vibrant sidewalks, parks, and public plazas. And when you think of what this project will do for this city and for downtown, it's hard to imagine that it could do more for our urban core, from more housing, supporting our retail, supporting arts, and a big investment in transit. All those things are critical to a healthy, vibrant downtown Seattle. So Again, I want to express our appreciation for the county executive's work, his team, and all the folks involved with the convention center. This is one important milestone. We know that there's several more to go. We'll be continued to be there supporting this work with our great partners from Visit Seattle, the Chamber, and throughout the downtown community. And with that, I want to invite Monty Anderson with the building trades to join the mic.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Monty Anderson. I'm with Seattle Building Trades. First of all, I want to thank Dow and the board for their leadership. You know, anybody can build a building, but sometimes it takes a real thought about the community, the workers, veterans, young men and women that don't have opportunities here. Dow Constantine is taking that to a next level. He comes to labor ahead of time saying, hey, how can we help kids get jobs, middle class, good jobs? And I always like to say that apprenticeship is the original 4-year degree. And when this building starts, and with the promises made by Dow and the staff and the convention center, it's going to be the first day of school for a lot of young men and women and veterans here in King County. And that's something that I'm really proud of. I'm proud to be a part of the community here, King County resident, obviously, and to work with Dow and the convention center. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of man hours for local men and women here in Seattle and the county. You know, construction jobs are the ones you can't outsource, and we like that. So we like the investment here that they're putting forward. And like I said, the forethought to be a real leader and look out for the men and women here in King County first when you start building this convention center. So once again, I'd like to thank the King County Council, Executive Dow, the convention center, and everybody involved with this for having labor involved in this discussion so we can get this thing built and invest in the community. So I'd like to once again thank everybody for their support.
All right, so we are very interested in taking your questions today. If you have any questions, any of us and many of the folks here who helped put together the transaction, including my Chief of Staff, Sung Yang, who did much of the negotiating, would be glad to answer them. Are there any questions? Yes. First of all, I'll give you the bottom line, which is the buses are coming out of the tunnel in 2020 already, right? So that was not going to be a factor any longer. So it's only a question of how many months before that. This is Victor Obeso from Metro Transit, and he can tell you a little bit more.
Hi, I'm the Deputy General Manager for King County Metro. Metro's worked very closely with Executive Constantine and the team negotiating this agreement with the State Convention Center and their team in developing transit alternatives that will work, that still need vetting through the City of Seattle, and we've agreed with the city to move forward in developing a Center City mobility plan, looking beyond this project to mobility throughout downtown Seattle and its neighborhoods to the northeast, south. So with this specific issue of pulling buses out of the tunnel, we've begun that already this fall as light rail's begun more frequent service. We've taken some tunnel buses and put them on the surface. The city has made traffic operations changes at Pike Street and other places to accommodate that. We will continue that in March with Link Light Rail going out to the UW and reducing the number of routes that have to come downtown as a result of service out there. So those are early actions to mitigate the effects of the reliance on the tunnel. We have developed plans, as I say, for 9th Avenue, Pike Street, the Pike Street access to the express lanes as options, temporary ramps in and out of the tunnel to remain continue tunnel operations during the construction of the tunnel. And then the plan, the ultimate plan, will be determined in conjunction with our partners, that Center City Mobility Plan and the permitting process for the project.
Thank you, Victor. Others, yes?
How much will it cost to find an alternative layover in place for the buses and mitigate all the changes that are required for that?
The question is about layover, And again, that's an issue that arises whether or not you build the convention center addition. But do you want to talk about layover space?
As was mentioned, it's a dynamic environment. There's a lot of cranes around downtown. We have a lot of layover, particularly for peak period services, where we add additional buses that use on-street locations at curbs. We've identified spaces, in fact, on Convention Place under the Convention Center as the primary construction period layover. We're working through long-range plans to develop permanent layover locations and/or continued use of curb space, as we have done for many years throughout downtown Seattle. The cost determination will be made in those long-term plans, so I don't have numbers to share with you today. I do not have those preliminary numbers this morning, no.
Others? Yes.
Actually, related to that,
Yes, speak up.
I think that talking about buses, when the convention center will be built right over the light rail tunnel, but not have a light rail station right at the convention center, is to me crazy. And it's something that we're going to look back in 20 years and not understand how the decision was made.
The question is, why is there not a light rail station at the convention center? It's a very short distance between the Westlake station and the convention center, really just a couple of blocks. And at Sound Transit, that's not a metro determination, but at Sound Transit, at some point in the past, it was determined that the impact on travel times was not a good trade-off for being able to bring people the extra couple of blocks to the convention center. I agree with you that if your destination is the convention center and specifically not Westlake, you'd prefer to have the station be here rather than there. But those are the kinds of decisions that you need to make when you're putting together a transit system to serve everyone. Other questions? Yes. Are there other questions? Okay. Well, we will all be available to speak with you directly after this, but I want to say again that this is a tremendously important moment in the economic history of our city, that we are moving forward with the expansion of this center that really plays on our strengths. Seattle, King County is a place where people want to visit, and we want to let them do that. So congratulations to everyone who's brought us to this day. Best wishes, those of you who are carrying us forward from this moment, and on with the show. Thank you so much.